Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining on time. I apologize for the short delay. I don't think it will happen again, so please join on time for the upcoming sessions as well. This is I call it the zeroth session. It is not even the first session because here we'll do revision of all the topics that I think are necessary from A1 level so that I don't have to explain the same things again and again throughout the A2 sessions. We'll also request you to do a special kind of homework. Uh, and we'll talk about that at the end. The third point of today's agenda is that we'll try to answer all your questions. Now, does just because I have this is the third point does not mean you have to ask it towards the end. You can start asking your questions from now as well. So please unmute yourself and ask your questions whenever you want to. Do not wait. If you have a question in mind, ask. Don't think you are interrupting me. I appreciate when you interrupt me a lot. Having said that, let's start. So, disclaimer, guys, just so you understand this, so that we make sure that you have the right kind of expectation from these sessions, and yeah, that's the idea behind the disclaimer. So, this course is not designed to prepare you for any kind of language exam. It is just an attempt in helping you learn A2 level German that I think you may need in your daily life. Uh, I'm not a certified German teacher. I'm just a random guy. I think I can speak German. My friends think I can speak German. My colleagues, my boss think I can speak German. So I think there is no harm in me assisting you and other experts in learning or improving their German. One important thing about these sessions are so we have only 12 sessions. We may have one more, but normally we have only 12 sessions. Each session will be of 1 to 1.5 hours. In this 1 and 1.5 hours, we'll try to cover content that is supposed to be taught and practiced over 16 to 20 hours. Now you understand something if I'm trying to cover something that is to be taught at least over 16 hours in 1 to 1.5, 1.5 hours, there will be some things that will be skipped, especially the exercise part. So we'll not be able to do interactive exercises. Those will be part of the homework. So you are supposed to do them later. This is what I mean that this implies that the participants will have a lot of homework, right? So we'll try to cover all the theory or all the knowledge that you're supposed to learn from your teacher, and everything that is to be done amongst yourself, the interactive exercises, the homework. That is what the rest of the 15 to 18 hours is. That is what you have to do on your own. All right. So please treat this course as a random YouTube video that you might watch during your day, but I think it is much more than a random YouTube video. All right. So any questions about the disclaimer, please ask. Any questions, guys? Okay. No. Let's start. So, let's start with some very basic revision. Now, the first revision that I want to do is about sentence formation. When you start speaking German or when you start communicating in German, everything that you say, everything that the other person can say, we all can say at least, I think it can be categorized into three kinds of sentences, or I can say that I can only say three kinds of things in German language. So, let's talk about those. uh, you can say a statement. You can say or ask a yes or no kind of question. You can say or ask a w word kind of question. Now let's see what a statement can be. Anyone in the call wants to feel these three sentences for me? Let me see if I can ask someone to read. Karthik J, do you mind reading these three sentences for me?
Ja,
Yeah,
ich bin ein Consultant.
yeah.
Bin ich ein Consultant? Was bin ich?
Yes, right. So these are three sentences. The words are more or less the same, but they are organized in a different manner. Now, this is a statement. This is a yes or no kind of question, and this is a W kind of question, right? Now, let's talk about the grammar. This is very important. So, ish is kind of the subject. Bin is conjugated form of the verb sein for subject ish, and here is the object. Ein consultant is an object. Here, bin is the verb, ish is the subject, ein consultant is the object. Was is the W word, bin is the verb, ish is the subject. Now, if you focus, what happens, so they are rearranging themselves. Just like English, if I say I am a consultant, and if I have to, frame it as a w yes or no kind of question, I will say, am I a consultant? Or I will say in w word, what am I? Your the verbs, the position of the verb, subject, and the object change. But what you have to remember is, when it is a statement, okay, when it is a statement, the verb is always at the second position. Okay, the verb is always at the second position. This is very important. Okay, and before the verb, I write it as the first position, but normally you should think of it as the subject is before the verb in a statement. Okay, now I will add one more word. I will add an adjective or an adverb. The subject is usually before the verb. What do I mean by usual? That means it is not fixed. It can also be after the verb. Now, the subject is usually before the verb, but if there is something which we think is more important and that should be at the beginning of a sentence, then the subject has to leave this position of first position and it has to go after the verb. Then you can say it is at the third position, but this is how you should think in a statement. The verb is at the second position, the subject is usually before the verb, but if something important comes up, the subject has to leave its position and move after the verb. Now, what is that important thing can be? I say, ich bin ein Consultant, right? Uh, for example, let's say, I'm also a data engineer, right? So sometimes I act as a consultant, sometimes I act as a data engineer, depending on the meeting, right? So if I say today, today for all the meetings I'm a consultant, then I will say heute, right? The word for today is heute. Then I will say heute will be here, and then the verb will remain where it is. The subject will be after the verb. I hope that person was able to join. Yes. So if I say heute, then heute bin ich ein Consultant. Okay. Let's talk about yes or no. Any questions about statement? You know what I just said? The verb has to be at the second position. The subject is usually before the verb, but it can also be after the verb. And if I look at the object, I did not say third or fourth, or I just said last. Remember this? Last. When I say last, it is before the full stop. This means that there can be other things over here, between the verb and the object, there can be other things. What those other things can be, we will learn them as we need them. Okay, remember this. The object is at the last position. Any questions? Please ask. Okay, a yes or no kind of question here as well. So in this one, what happens is that if you notice, the verb is at the first position. Okay, the verb is at the first position, and the subject is kind of tied to the verb. Doesn't matter whether it is a statement, yes or no, or w kind of question. The subject is always tied to the verb. So wherever verb is, the subject either has to be before or after. But now the verb has taken the first position, the subject has to be at the second position. It cannot, like, the sentence starts with the verb. So bin ish, and again the object is at the last position. Okay, now, what about a W kind of question? Here, if you notice, again the verb is at the second position. Okay, W word is at the first position, and the subject, as I said, it is usually tied to the verb, always tied to the verb. So the subject is at the third position. Okay, I do not say last or something like that, because you can have more things after ish. You can also have an object and so on, but we'll learn them as we need them. But W word kind of question, the verb is at the second position. W word, of course, always starts with the W word, and then here you have the subject after the verb. Any questions? Any kind of questions that you think is too silly, but you feel like I want to ask? Any question? If this is not a question, so throughout the sessions, whenever I ask you to frame a sentence, please remember this formation. Okay, whenever I question.
Excuse me, Rohit. I have a question in W word kind of question. So sometimes I find like, for example, I don't know if this is right or wrong. We have a question like we feel costed thus. Costed is the verb there. So we feel there are two words there. So does this imply like we feel is the first position? We have to take it as we feel is the first position. I have seen many questions where two words come in the first position and verb comes in the third position. So
Yeah, please
so while
continue.
framing sentences, So while framing sentences, so how should we know? So in this case particularly, there are two words in the first position, and verb comes in the third position.
So the second
So there
position
are.
does not imply
Hmm.
it is the second word. So what does it mean is that it is the second entity. Maybe I should have framed my words properly. So this is all first position. You can also have more words. For example, instead of saying costed thus, I can say we feel a in this meeting we have there are people joining in this meeting, right? So I can say we feel a tile name a gift. Yes. Now if you notice, the first position has three words. It's not even two
Yes,
words. It
yes.
can have more. So you have to understand, just focus on the position of the verb. And for example, why, how can you think of this like, so feel a tile namer cannot be anywhere else, right? Or the what you said, we feel costed thus, the feel is associated with we. It has to be there. Yeah.
Okay.
So idea is
So,
don't, yeah, please go on.
how to identify like these kind of W kind of questions, because sometimes we don't know, like this one we can identify, feel has to come with we, but sometimes when framing a question, the other two entities, we don't think like we have to keep with the W word.
For example,
um, Maybe I can send you after this call, because I
okay.
don't remember right now those questions.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. The thing is, this is not just for you. I can't see the name, but this is not just for you. If you think in your head it's complicated, it is going to get complicated. But you always have to use your gut feeling. If I ask you, you know, if I ask you, we feel costed thus, and if I have to write this in English, you know, how much does it cost? In English as well, much is kind of feel. That much cannot be anywhere else. It has to be with the W word. The same thing applies in German as well. So in a way,
Okay.
I'm saying, don't try to, like, don't think it is too complicated. You will encounter situations where it is going to get difficult. Also, most of the times your gut feeling is correct. So
Okay.
just, and let's say if you say something, let's say instead of saying we feel gift as, you say we gift feel as. Y- on paper, of course it's wrong, but when you're talking to someone, people know what you are trying to say, right? You know what I'm saying,
Oh,
right?
okay.
If I go to someone, if I go to a shopkeeper and I say, we costed if I say like this, we costed feel as, the shopkeeper will know what I'm trying to say. He may smile at me, but he will know what I'm trying to say. Okay,
Okay.
so I hope
Got
I
it.
answered your question.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. So any more questions? No questions. Okay. Please understand this. There are, I'm trying to simplify something that is very complex or sophisticated. So I'm saying there are only three kinds of things that you can say in a German language. The statement, and there are two kinds of question. That's all there is. Later, as we continue, I will add an adjective over here, and I will add like, maybe, I don't know, I will add preposition, or so on. And but the basic thing remains the same. The verb will always be at the second position for a statement and W word kind of question. One more thing before we continue. you know uh, there are rules in German language which are important when you are appearing for an exam, but then there are rules which we can throw out the window the moment we interact in real life. For example, here I say, in a yes, I say in a statement the verb has to be at the second position. In a W word, the verb has to be at the second position. Only in a yes or no kind of question, the verb has to be at the first position. Again, in a statement, in a W word kind of question, the verb is at the second position. Only in a yes or no kind of question, the verb is at the first position. But in real life, so let's say if my boss asks me, or my supervisor says, Rohit, did you know, hast du die, hast du den Bericht geschrieben? What does it mean, guys? My boss is asking me this, and no one. What is Bericht?
That is a report.
It's a report. So my boss is asking, Rohit, did you finish the report or did you write the report? My answer is, normally I can say the entire sentence. Yes, boss, I have finished the report. I have written the report. But normally I just say, yeah, I have. Normally I will say, yeah, I have, or I will say, I have. Now, ideally, I should say, ich habe. Ideally, I should say, ich habe. But in real life, this is what I say, habe ich. you know Now here the verb is at the second position, the subject is at the second position. So this sounds like a yes or no kind of question, but this is my answer. I'm saying in real life, the rules you can throw out the window, most of the rules. Okay, so in real life, this is a statement. It's not a yes or no kind of question. Okay, my boss asked me, Rohit, schreibst du bitte die Notizen. Let's say sometimes we take part in a meeting, uh, you know, and my boss will like, Rohit, can you write the minutes of the meeting? He'll just write me in Teams on personal chat, and I will say, yeah, yeah, Makish. I will say, yeah, I'm doing that, Makish. This is a statement. This is what I'm trying to say. Exam is one thing, communicating in real life is another thing. Okay, so even if you mess up with rules, it's fine. I hope I was able to make some sense when I said what I discussed just right now. Any questions? No questions. Now, one thing I want you to do an exercise, so here bin is a verb, right? So bin, the main verb is sein, and we have conjugated it for ich, ich bin, du bist, es sie ist, ihr seid, small sz, capital SZ, sind. Whenever you learn a verb, throughout, whenever I ask you to frame a sentence, here, the verb sein was conjugated with respect to ish, and with for ish it was bin. If I had said, you are a consultant, it could have been du bist or capital SZ, Sie sind. So learn the conjugations. It's not that difficult. What is this, guys, in brackets gewesen? What do we call this? When is it important? Anyone? What is gewesen over here? Okay, this is not good. You should know
Past.
this. Yeah, participes y, not past. Participes y. Okay, this is important when we frame sentences in past tense. Okay, thank you, but that your answer was correct. Your answer was correct. This is important. So whenever you learn a verb, learn all the five conjugations. And only for sein is a special kind of verb, so that normally you only have to learn four conjugations for ish, do, er, z, ia. The small s, z, capital S, z, this one is normally the same as the actual verb. If I have to write this for uh, if I have to write this table for haben, it will be ich habe, du hast, and er es sie hat, ihr will be habt, and for zz it will be haben, which is the same as the actual verb. What I'm trying to say is when you learn a verb, learn all the four or five conjugations and also learn the participes y. Okay, this is very important. Of course, there are rules to guess the guess the conjugations, but I think I can give you the rules. You can also find them in the recordings of past, the just finished A1 sessions. But just learn for, there are not. It is not that difficult to, memorize four different varieties of the same verb, and once you use them a couple of times, you remember them. Any questions about the conjugation which I just discussed? Okay. Again, the saying the same thing again. Here, this is just like this is a slide from the even session. So this is a statement, ich lese ein Buch, I read a book. The verb is at the second position, im Aussagesatz steht das Verb auf Position 2, and at the first position im Aussagesatz steht das Subjekt. I say subject is either for or after the verb. Okay, the position of subject is not fixed, either it is off before or after. Any questions? Okay, what about a W word kind of and for a yes or no, guys, it's just that the verb will be here and the subject will go here. That's all. For a W word, the W word is at the first position, the verb is at the second position. And notice what I say here, position 2 does not necessarily mean second word. Context is important. This is the question which was just asked. So position 2 does not mean second word. It means I hope you know what it means, you know. So position verb does not mean the first verb. It is the first set of verbs that can be considered as the first entity. Any questions? Uh, Anyone feels like telling me what the meanings of these W words are? These are some W words.
Yeah, we is how, go is where, over is from where, was what, when, which.
Okay, where is who? Yeah, thank you. This you
Yeah,
should
where is.
know. Yeah, perfect. So let's talk about again, guys. You know, we are doing a revision of something that was supposed to be taught over 12 hours of last A1 batch. So we are doing revision of the important parts. These are Modalverben. Anyone in the call knows, just tell me something about Modalverben, like uh, okay, let's leave this question. It's too complete. It's too broad a question. But what I want is someone in the call to read. I have wanted to read like ich will, du willst, sie will, wir wollen, and so on. And then ich kann, du kannst. Anyone feels like reading?
Yeah, can
Please.
I?
Yes.
Ich will, du willst, es will, wir wollen, ihr wollt, sie wollen. Common also?
Not common. Können.
Sorry, können. Sorry, können. Ich kann, du kannst, es kann, wir können, ihr könnt, sie können. Müssen. Ich muss, du musst, es muss, wir müssen, ihr müsst, sie müssen. Dürfen. Ich darf, du darfst, es darf, wir dürfen, ihr dürft, sie dürfen. Sollen. Ich soll, du sollst, es soll, wir sollen, ihr sollt, sie sollen. Möchten. Ich möchte, du möchtest, es möchte, wir möchten, ihr möchtet, sie möchten.
Thank you. So what she just read are the conjugations of the six modal verbs. If you notice, I mean, the reason I have written this. If I come to your house at 4 a.m. in the morning tomorrow and throw cold water on your face, of course you will wake up and give me a tight slap because it is not right of me to throw cold water on your face while you are sleeping. But after you have slapped me, I want you to, parrot this table out. So I want you to start reading like this: Ich will, du willst, sie will, be a wall, ihr wall. You should this table you should have memorized. Why it is important? Because it makes your life easier. Modal verb will make your life easier. Let's talk about that. You have this, so I work, I want to work, I am allowed to work, I should work, I can work. So I work is a statement like normal sentence, but these are, here, that is where you can use modal verbs. Anyone wants to tell me the German words corresponding sentences for these English sentences? So
Should
yes, please.
want, wollen.
No, you don't. You have to give me the entire sentence. I mean, so I work is
Ah,
ich arbeite. You
ich
want to tell?
arbeite.
Yeah, and then I want to work.
Ich, ich will, ich will arbeite. Äh, ich darf. What is the meaning of allowed? Ich darf
Ich darf.
arbeiten. Ich soll arbeiten. Ich kann arbeiten.
So if you speak like that, and let's say I'm a German born, I have no knowledge of it, I will know what you're trying to say, but I will also know your German, I mean your good German is not perfect. Why will I say that? Because let's talk about this. So this is the conjugation table for arbeiten. You only need this when you are using arbeiten on its own. The moment you use any modal verb, you don't need this conjugation table, because when you use a modal verb, you only conjugate the modal verb. The other verb remains as it is. So this is how it will. What happened? One second. So this is how it will look like. Ich will arbeiten and not arbeiter. Okay. The moment you
Oh,
use a modal verb, the other verb or the main verb need not be conjugated. This is the beauty of modal verb. They make your life easier, right? You can just write arbeiten everywhere. Okay. And think of, the moment you use a modal verb, the other verb, you don't even have to think of conjugating it. So I
oh,
hope you understood what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So when you use a modal verb, guys, notice, so here when we were talking about, statement, the verb was at the second position and it was conjugated. Now here we had only one verb. Notice it. There was only one verb. Please mute yourself if you're not talking. So here in this sentence, we have two verbs. We have the actual verb of the sentence, and we have the modal verb. Now, if you notice, at the second position, we have the modal verb. You should always think in a statement at the second position, you have that verb which is being conjugated, and that is here modal verb. So you conjugate the modal verb, and the other verb or the main verb or the verb that is conveying the main context behind the statement, still story behind the statement, intention behind the statement is the you don't need to conjugate it. It will be in its infinitive form. Okay. Any questions?
I think here the verb always, when you have a conjugate verb, the main verb comes in the end. Right?
Yeah, it comes at the end. You're right. It always it is before the full stop. Yes. You can have other things in between. You can have objects like dative object or accusative object. You can have more things, but the infinitive verb will be at the last position. You're right. More questions or more things you want to add? If not, remember this. When I ask you to frame a sentence in upcoming sessions, when you use modal verb, do not conjugate the other verb. If you do it, you will increase my blood pressure, which is not a good thing to do. Okay, please don't do that. So again, let's talk. So this conjugation. I will always keep talking about this 4 a.m. test. You have to pass the 4 a.m. Me splashing water on your face test. Remember, this is you have to pass the 4 a.m. test for this table. This is Modalverben. And if you look at it, you have to learn it for ish, for do, rzz. Actually, if you know for ish, you also know for rzz. Notice, will, kan, mus, daf, zol, myoshta is the same thing. So if you know for ish, you know for rzz. Then for do, you have to add the sound of este. Check este. Here, if you add one more este, it just sounds weird. So you just add the sound of te. Here, este. Here, if you just, este. Okay. If you know for ish, you know for do as well because just add the sound of este. For rsz, it's the same thing as ish. For ia, all you have to do is add the alphabet te. Again, okay, not exactly. So what you have to do is you have to remove an from here, from here. So an remove add t. So volt. An remove add te kyont. Remove an add te must. Remove an add te duft. Zollen remove an te and add te zolt. Okay. And okay. Uh, and for zz and via, it's the actual verb itself. Okay, so practically it's not that difficult to remember this table. If you just write it 3 times, you'll remember it. Let's talk about, you also have to remember Modalverben in Präteritum. When when you will talk about, like, so far we only discussed how to write sentences in present tense. But let's say if you have to frame, say, or someone is speaking sentences in past tense, there are 3 ways to talk in past tense. One is using Präteritum, one is using perfect or participe zwei, the third one is using Plusquamperfekt. If you want, we'll talk about what these 3 things are. But for Präteritum, modal verbs even make your life easier over there, because when you use modal verb, we'll talk about why they make your life so much easier in past tense as well. But for that, you have to remember the modal verb and Präteritum as well. Okay, so ich wollte, du wolltest, so uh, maybe someone can read. Someone who did not speak so far. Someone who gave me the answer told me that the Arbeiten has to be at the last position. If you don't mind reading,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. 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 Uh, ich wollte, du wolltest, es wollte, wir wollten, ihr wolltet, sie wollte. Könntest. Ich könnte, du könntest,
No, 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 no,
es
no, no. See, German is the correct. Yes,
contest, yeah.
yeah. So you don't say
Ich,
kyon, say kon.
ja, ja.
Yeah.
Ich konnte, du konntest, es konnte, Wir konnten, ihr konntet, sie konnten. Ich musste, du musstest, es musste, wir mussten, ihr musstet, sie mussten, dürfen. Ich durfte, du durftest, es durfte, wir durften, ihr durftet, sie durften, sollen. Ich sollte, du solltest, es sollte, wir sollen, ihr solltet, sie sollten.
You
Möchten.
did a mistake over here. So we are, you said Zolan, it should be Zoltan. But continue.
Wir, wir sollten, na?
You said Zolan, but okay.
Okay. Maybe I forgot. Möchten. Ich möchte, du musstest,
It's
es
not sh
musste.
anymore, it is k. So this is pronunciation. It is
Okay.
k,
Why
mocked.
this is ka?
That
Uh,
is the rule. So when it is after, so the alphabet se and ha, when they are after umlaut, it is sh, like show of show, or
okay.
the show of education, sh. But when it is after
Uh-huh.
o, it is k. That's how it is.
Oh, so it is sounds like ich möchte.
Yes.
Ich möchte,
It's something like
du.
cock and right? Like
Yeah,
Ah,
that
Koch.
curve, yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good example. I'll remember it. Yeah, that's a good example. So caution, you don't say caution, right? That's a very good example. You just made my morning. Yeah, someone has done the homework. So yeah, so cur.
ich, ich möchte, du möchtest, es möchte, wir möchten, ihr möchtet, sie möchten.
Now you also have to pass the 4 a.m. test for this table, and it's not that difficult. If you know for ish, you know for RSC, it's the same thing. And if you know for
Yeah.
ish, just add the sound of s and te. For ia, just add the sound of te. It's not that difficult, guys. Please. So
And I think one more important thing there is, I think in the past tense you don't have a umlaut anywhere.
yeah, there is no umlaut. Yes, you're right. There is no umlaut anywhere. That's a good thing. There is no umlaut anywhere. Yes. Uh, this you already know. Now let's talk about framing sentences in past tense using preteritum. So all you have to do is so these sentences, if I go back, here ich will, ich möchte, ich darf, ich soll, ich kann, and arbeiten. Here all you have to do is you know you notice ich wollte, ich mochte, ich durfte, ich sollte, ich konnte. Now the same sentences are in past tense. So now you are saying, I wanted to work, I like to work, I was allowed to work, I should have worked, I could have worked. The same thing. All happened is that, so now you also learned how to say things in past tense. Believe me, if you were not using modal verb, life would have been a little bit difficult. Modal verbs always make your life easier. So any questions? This is past tense, guys. Okay, no more questions. Also, you know what? Don't see the name, but thank you for the point. So you don't have any umlaut, when you are using modal verb in preteritum. You don't have umlaut in conjugation of modal verbs in preteritum. No umlaut. So let's talk about past tense. There are three ways to talk about your past, my past, anyone's past in German language. You can do that using preteritum, using perfect, or some people call it participe zwei. You can also do it using plusquamperfekt. Before we talk about difference between all of these, let's talk about perfect and plusquamperfekt. You know, I like not now, but before I was living in a big WG, like Wohngemeinschaft, and there were six other people living with me. And there were always fights. Like you did not do this, you did not do that. It last week you were supposed to clean the hall and something like that. And let's my flatmate said, like, I did clean the hall, and he said he did clean the hall in perfect, but I'm saying you had or you did clean the hall. So I'm saying this, and again I'm saying in English, so I'm just trying to make you understand the difference. Perfect is like past, plusquamperfekt is like past. So to make like to make fun of my flatmate, or also he did the same thing. I said, yeah, you cleaned it in 1947, like like I don't know, 70 years ago. So that is plusquamperfekt. It is like past and past, like really old.
Like
Perfect,
way back. Huh?
way back, like it happened way back, way back. Using perfect is just like past. Okay, this is just, and also in A2 we will not talk about plusquamperfect. Many times you don't need it unless and until you are, someone like me who wants to make fun of. Again, plusquamperfect, I don't think we need this. Maybe you'll need this when you are, a reporter or something like that, but normally you don't need. Normally life is good with preteritum and perfect. Please mute yourself if you're not talking.
Okay, my understanding, maybe to the just perfection.
Yeah,
My
go.
understanding is perfect. Yeah, the perfect is something that you already started in the past, but you just finished, or maybe it's continuing, like has finished. I mean, like has clean. So you already started in the past, but you just finished. Yeah, post perfect is that you have clean. That means you already something happened long back in the past and also completed in the past. That's long back. Präteritum is we always talk with respect to time. It just happened in the past, but normally you don't use it in the verbal communication a lot. That's what my understanding. Präteritum is normally mostly in the written communication. Yeah.
So what you just said is correct, but it's not correct. How do you say? Like it is not the entire picture. So what you said is correct. If with that understanding, you will never make a mistake when you're speaking in German. But it's not the entire understanding. So pretty. I mean, if you have to think about it, perfect is also, the thing which started and ended in the past. There is nothing wrong with it. You know. For example, I can say, ich habe A1 gemacht. Does that mean that I did not finish? If I ask you, did you finish A1? You will say, yeah, ich habe A1 gemacht, right? So it means you started with A1 and you finished it. That is still perfect. Do you see the loopholes in that logic that you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
said?
that's what I told you. It has finished, and you finished it recently. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you can think it like that. Yeah. So finish recently, that means finish in the past. You're right. You're right. Yeah. Plusquamperfect is something which happened way in the past, but that logic, let's agree. Let's not disagree. You are right. You're right. No problem. Let's continue. More questions.
Can you give examples of these three
Sure, sure. I
kinds of
have, I
swap?
have, I have example.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So you have some examples over here. Maybe you can read the one. I did not see the name, but maybe you can read all these sentences for me.
Uh, ich aß Pizza. Ich reiste nach Spanien. Ich bekam eine E-Mail. Using perfect. Ich habe Pizza gegessen. Ich bin nach Spanien gereist. Ich habe eine E-Mail bekommen. Using Plusquamperfekt. Ich hatte Pizza gegessen. Ich war nach Spanien gereist. Ich hatte eine E-Mail bekommen.
Perfect. Now these sentences. The reason I have chosen some very, if I say ich aß Pizza, ich habe Pizza gegessen, ich hatte Pizza gegessen, I have reason. The reason I have chosen such a silly and simple sentence, because when are you going to talk about, ich hatte Pizza gegessen? I don't know, like 10 years ago you ate pizza, but there is. Let's try to understand. In my head, or at least the way it helps me in understanding or speaking German, I club preteritum and perfect in the same category. So does not matter whether you are talking about something which, as long as there was something in the past, in the immediate past, whether you finished it or not, it does not matter. As long as it was in the past, you think it is preteritum and perfect. Something which happened way back, then you use perfect, plusquamperfect. Why do I say that? As you continue, as you do A1, A2, B1, B2, and C1, and then you take some other courses where they teach you how to write a story in German, they tell you when you write a story, right? Again, this is not supposed to be discussed in A2, but let's talk about it. When you write a story, uh, let's say if I'm saying a story, then I will say, I was going to this place, then I was going to that place, and then blah blah blah. And but you never, and towards the end of your story, you say, and then did this happen? What I'm trying to say is that when you start a story, you start with preteritum in past tense, because if the moment you say, if you say ish as pizza, it literally translate in my head, that means, okay, you were eating pizza. Okay. Of course, it you also finished eating pizza, that does not matter. But if you start with your story with isha pizza gegessen, the story ends over there. The moment you say something in past tense using perfect, in my head or on a paper, the story ends there. You can keep writing, but you end your story or end your dialogue or end your conversation with perfect. But if you're starting to say something, build a story, a conversation, you start with preteritum. Having said that, in A2, it is not expected of you that you know when to use preteritum, when to use perfect. It's just easier to use perfect. Why is it easier? If you notice, here ish as pizza, this is a conjugation of s in past tense. That means there will be so you will have to learn what is, so first of all you have to learn four conjugations for present tense. Then you also have to learn 4 to 5 conjugations in preteritum. It just makes your life twice difficult. The moment you use perfect, you only have to remember the participes y of the sn verb, which instead of learning four more words, you just learn one more word for sn, that is gegessen. And this haben and sein or bin, you know it already. That's why it is easier to use perfect. It is something like, how modal verbs make your life easier. Same way, using perfect makes your life easier. You don't have to remember a lot of different words. Again, when you're talking in past tense, feel free to talk in preteritum or perfect as you choose to. It's just easier to use perfect. But there are exceptions, right? We just saw that you when you use a modal verb, you should do it using preteritum, because then you don't even have to remember the participes y of the actual verb. Okay, again guys, I'm trying to explain that is supposed to be discussed over 4 to 5 hours. It is short, in a short span. So what I'm saying, plusquamperfekt not needed, preteritum perfect needed. When you are saying something in past tense, you are free to talk in preteritum and perfect. It's just easier to use perfect. Okay, any questions? Or uh, any questions? Because I'm trying to explain something complex in a short way, there will be loopholes. It's your job to find those loopholes. Any questions? Or anyone feels like explaining it in a better way? Or like, you think this is something that was missed?
Mm, not exactly, but um, for example, while understand this example B here between Präteritum and perfect. For example, ich reiste nach Spanien means I traveled to Spain, right? I mean, I traveled to Spain, but I'm not in Spain now because I traveled sometime in the past, right?
Yeah.
Ich bin nach Spanien gereist could be like I traveled. I mean, I traveled in Spain, but I'm still in still in Spain. No, that activity is I
No,
traveled, but I'm
it's not
still
like
there.
that. It's not like that. For example, if my boss asks me, like, what did you do on Sunday? I'll say, ich bin nach Spanien gereist. Does not mean I'm still in
Mhm.
Spain. The reason is, I mean, the thing is, in English we learn this, right? Simple present tense, present continuous, something like. And then we also have simple past, you know, then past continuous, past perfect. You know, in German it's not like that. So that is the. But what you are saying, if you think like that, it will help you. What I'm saying, if German is a language, you can mold it the way you want to. What you say is not incorrect, but there will be loopholes, right? The example that you just gave makes
Yeah.
sense, or right? So yeah.
Yes, that's what normally when I'm talking the spoken language, I don't much use ich reiste nach Spanien, but I always say like ich bin nach Spanien gereist.
There is a reason Germans also don't like preteritum. I mean, at least
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Germans
that's
that
right.
I know, because it just, I mean, ass. I mean, who says ass? We don't say that. Any more questions? Any more suggestions?
Can you translate each one of the sentence in English, like ich ask pizza, what's in English, and ich
Please tell
habe
me.
Pizza gegessen?
It is your job now, please, because the reason, I never give meanings. I will have to build a story around it. So tell me what the meanings are. Otherwise, I will have to tell you with the help of a story. So what do you think means? What do you think? What can I do with a pizza?
Ich ask pizza means I ate pizza.
You ate
Ich
pizza.
habe Pizza gegessen. I had pizza. What?
That is the thing. You should not do this in German language. Just accept that there are two ways to talk. Both are fine. But if you really have to, like if I really have, if you give me, if you say Rohit, like now your life is on danger, tell me what exactly these two mean. I will say Isha's pizza will mean I ate pizza. Isha pizza will mean I did eat pizza, or I have eaten pizza. These are the two things. But again, it is not good thing to do that, because now again you are thinking in English. Of course, I'm talking in English, you'll think in English. Don't do that. Just accept that there are two ways to talk in past tense. Both are fine. Normally, just use perfect.
Okay.
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 Preteritum, uh, you can use it, just makes your life difficult. That's it. Okay. Having said that, there will be exceptions. We'll talk about. Uh, if you have more questions about this, please ask. Otherwise, we'll continue because I have more slides to talk about when to use, each one of these. More questions?
No.
Okay. Just to sum up, past tense plus perfect, ignore guys for now. Preteritum perfect, both are fine. Perfect is easier to use, but if you want to use preteritum, it is fine. Having said that, when you are writing a story in past tense, the story ends with perfect. It usually starts with preteritum. Okay, because you cannot say, right, I did eat pizza. The story ends that. You have to, like, I was cooking and then the friend came and then blah blah blah, and then we happily, did eat pizza, something like that. Preteritum, let's talk about when to use preteritum. Okay, just the grammar behind it. Uh, okay, let's talk about the grammar. Guys, this call will end. So what can we can do is, this is a free Google account. So I will have this. So I will end this call. I will send a new link. Please join using that link. Then we will talk about, we'll talk about the grammar behind all of these. We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about, scenarios when you can use each of these. So what I'm saying is that I will end this call. I will post a new link. Please join using that link. Any questions to what I just said? Thumbs up if you know what I'm saying. Okay. Sudarshan, you raised your hand. Okay, yeah, So I'll end this call. Okay, I'll file count from 5 to 0. End this call. Post the new link. Please join using that link. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bis gleich.